welcome. It's so Steve is the education program manager at Epic Games. We first met Steve. We at the Cooney Center met Steve back when he was a public school teacher, a role he had for 28 years, which I think makes him uniquely qualified in this space. I mean, we heard the educator panel, the deep well of expertise and insight they have, and their knowledge of kids and what helps kids' imaginations catch fire and what's doable in school and classroom settings. So he's bringing the totality of that knowledge to a new space for himself. He taught game design and development and myriad courses in creative applications of technology. But now at Epic, he's supporting educators and students as they explore career opportunities that leverage things like 3D development skills, and he'll be talking about that and more today. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the torch to Steve. Thank you so much for being with us, Steve.
Thanks so much, Michael, for having me. It's quite an honor to be here and to be asked to provide the afternoon keynote. I was able to participate through most of the day, and I have to say, so much resonated with me, and I hope with everybody else. In fact, in just that last session, speaking to things like, students as creators and living in that Roblox world or Minecraft or Fortnite, and the fact that they're bringing that with them and they're already designing, and so many of them, I think it was mentioned that a lot of 19 to 22-year-olds or what have you are the ones that are kind of leveraging content creation and even monetizing that. So we're really speaking to the idea of creating the next generation of creators or educating them. And I'll also just touch real briefly too on the fact that the ESD standards have been brought up because in all my years of teaching, I never got excited about standards until the ISD standards came out, because they were all about students as creators. So very, definitely that all, speaks to me. So, Michael did a great job introducing me and my background, so I can go right past that. But we are going to talk about, where we can really, kind of put our efforts towards developing the next generation of workers in this immersive world, and really speaking to the tremendous job growth in these areas. I do want to start with a short video just because it really gives a great context for what interactive 3D is, and then I'll go from there.
Interactive 3D. We're experiencing a major shift in the way we work and communicate. We've moved from text and images to video, and now to a world where interactive 3D content is the norm. We're going to explore the technology that powers interactive 3D content and the skills that will be important in this immersive new. What do we mean by interactive 3D? What we're really talking about is the ability to interact with the digital world the same way you do with the real world. Playing a game like Fortnite on your phone or computer is an example of this. Or it could be a virtual reality or augmented reality experience where you need to use special glasses or hardware to view and play. But interactive 3D is not just for entertainment. Now it can simulate the real world in a meaningful way. For example, doctors can practice surgery before ever touching a patient. And it's possible to not only simulate what a surgeon would see during the operation, but also how it should feel. Car designers can try out new designs more easily. Usually designers start with a full-size play model of a new car, and that can cost a lot to produce and take weeks to make. Now they can try out and make changes to their designs in a virtual design space. And we can experience this in our everyday life too. Before you buy a new cool graphic team, you can turn around a digital version and look at it from every angle, or even customize it with your own colors and designs. So how does this work? The technology that powers all of these experiences is called real-time rendering. This is how the Weather Channel creates realistic simulations of hurricanes and storms that the newscasters can interact with on the screen. In a traditional 3D animation, the film you are watching is made up of a collection of static images that are rendered by a computer. Rendering is the process of converting a 3D model to a 2D film. Oftentimes, it can take a computer or a collection of computers days, weeks, or even months to render an entire film. To further complicate things, if an artist wants to make even the smallest change, the entire thing has to be re-rendered. With real-time graphics, 3D computer-generated visuals that you see are rendered and displayed almost instantly, making it easy for directors to make changes to special effects instantly and collaborate on a set. A real-time engine is the software needed to create these immersive experiences. An Unreal Engine is an award-winning real-time engine. We call it an engine, but it's not like a car engine. It's actual computer software created with code. The creation process for interactive 3D involves bringing 3D models into a real-time engine where behaviors and intelligence can be applied. This can include lighting, materials, physics, AI or artificial intelligence, user interaction, audio, animation, VFX, cinematics, and more. The result is not as simple, but a 3D world that you can explore and interact with. As you move around, your view of the world changes and you get to see different, as though you step inside. As the industry changes and we start to see interactive 3D everywhere, the demand for people to create these experiences is skyrocketing. Real-time 3D skills are in huge demand. In the future, everyone will be a creator. Want to be part of building this immersive new world? Get started with Unreal Online Learning for
All right. So I love that video because it really shows us, I think, how this technology is transforming so many industries. And it was brought up earlier in the keynote a lot about game technology and the role that plays. And Unreal Engine and Unity and so many other of these tools initially were intended as game engines. What I think is so neat about the way things have evolved. And part of it I attribute to something like in the case of Unreal Engine, it used to be that people would license Unreal Engine. It was quite expensive in order to use it to create AAA games. Then they changed the licensing model that at this point you don't have to pay a licensing fee until you make over $1 million essentially for something that you create, which for our students I think is a great problem to have, and I can't wait till the first student has to address that issue and learn a little bit more about real life as they start licensing the software. But the different industries, because it was made so accessible, it really changed things dramatically. And people from many different industries started using this powerful tools to create things. You saw in the video things like how the film and TV industry has been transformed. If you've seen like The Mandalorian and the way that that's filmed in LED volume, and with in-camera special effects and such. This video showed the live events. I hope you noticed the Weather Channel event where people actually started calling the studio to ensure that all the weather people were okay after that simulation. And then we have simulations, advertising, fashion. And on the point of like simulations, one of the things I think is so neat is that you have people like Mark Suter was speaking earlier today, and I've followed his work for a long time. And if you saw the project he's working on with kids building simulations, the skills that they're getting in those classes are just remarkable and are going to serve them so well, leaving that high school setting, which is amazing to me. Here's just a glimpse of some of the many companies that are leveraging this kind of technology across so many of these different industries. As we talk about, job opportunities for our students, there are some jobs out there that I kind of wish existed when I was in school, or, it's kind of like those, when we used to watch the videos that talked about, that we're training kids for the jobs that don't exist yet. Here we have a job called experiential designer, where students, or where people are working in industry working on special effects and creating these virtual, spaces, often a mix of the physical and virtual space. Somebody earlier today was talking about, I think, how some of this technology, makes its way into amusement parks and all these different places. And these are all, opportunities that our students have and that are relatively new, opportunities in terms of the job market, and the demand is incredible. And this stat is a little old at this point, but Burning Glass, did a report and found that 345,000 3D graphic skills and real time jobs were listed or posted in, I think it was the span of between October 2017 and October 2018. So in that 1 year, and that's only growing, today. Um, the real-time jobs are outgrowing the market at an incredible pace. And when we talk about salaries, a typical real-time 3D position, the salary is 57% above the average, advertised salary. Which brings us to what we can do even with our students. The whole day is devoted essentially to high school students, and that's my primary you know, uh, group that I'm working with is high school educators. And one of the groups that we've been partnering with is the Arts, Media, and Entertainment Workforce Development Initiative in California. And it's an organization of many stakeholders, including the California Department of Education, the California Department of Labor, as well as big companies, Sony, and many others, Riot Games, Epic Games, and such, that are working together to create a paid apprenticeship program as an alternate pathway for students, generally speaking, in underserved and underrepresented communities. So during their high school years, students are learning these skills, and then when they graduate, they're going to have opportunities with these major companies for paid apprenticeships. And there are a number of companies that have already signed on as a commitment. So effectively, and this is exciting, to me for sure, as a lifelong gamer and as somebody who was teaching game design and sort of introducing a lot of this. Engines truly are changing the world as we know it. Um, Providing this freedom to create, innovate, and collaborate like never before. I've heard that, like, things pointing to this throughout the entire day today, and I believe in it very strongly. So our mission, and I think I could kind of say our collective mission of most people here today, certainly ours at Epic and my own, is to empower everyone to create and share compelling real-time 3D content and experiences. um there's so much that was shared today about empathy projects and all these other ways of expressing ourselves with real-time 3D. And I like to, this gets personal for me as well. You know, one of our, well, as a teacher, I had to, my whole philosophy on teaching shifted dramatically when some students asked me to bring Minecraft into the classroom way back when, and I did not really know the game. Um, wasn't even sure I was such a fan of it at the time, but I knew it was meaningful to kids. So, just like this gentleman, Eric Elder, who created a program for this group of kids, I felt it was necessary to take a little bit of a leap of faith, empower our students, allow them to be the experts. I've heard it mentioned today too, learning with your students, supporting them as they go, you know, taking it, like I say, taking it a chance and not feeling like we have to be the expert in the room all the time. And I hope that that message has come across loud and clear today, because a lot of the technology that we're talking about is, I mean, well, for some of it, especially when we talk about XR, we're often talking about technology that our students are right alongside everybody else in terms of the newness of the development opportunities and such. So why not put them in the driver's seat and have them be learning with this cutting edge technology, which kind of brings us to the metaverse. You know and basically, I'm guessing a lot of people here have read either Snow Crash or Ready Player One, but science fiction was not too far off. Speaking of virtual reality and augmented reality, I hope that the metaverse doesn't emulate the whole dystopian part of those those works. But as far as creating this, third space or what have you, I think we are, well on our way. I think in terms of, considering this a real time 3D social medium, where we're sharing, engaging, and meaningful experiences. Couple of things that are important, and I did notice these spoken of throughout the day as well, is the importance of openness and interoperability. I think that's where we, are working real hard to get to, and that's a challenge. But I think there are enough stakeholders in this space that are very eager and excited to get there. And kind of as mentioned before with game technology, this is all, coming to be using existing game technology or apps and such. So these are the spaces where our students are more comfortable than we are, so it's important to honor that. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, they're already living in the prototypes of the metaverse. Um, there have been a number of, large scale social experiences in the metaverse that more of our kids have participated in than probably we have. I believe that we have to acknowledge that they're going to be instrumental in building it. In fact, in some ways, they already are. And again, brings us back to, I think, some of these technologies that we're speaking of, when we talk about XR and we talk about the metaverse and all these other industries. So I think it's lending us to a point where we can really see where students, are going to be in such a key position to be a big part of this. Um, I'm not going to share this now in the interest of time, but I'd love for you to look it up. One of the experiences, Time for Kids and Fortnite created the March Through Time, 1963, which is an immersive experience with Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech in the Washington Mall, and it takes place in Fortnite. It includes a civil rights museum and some other things, and I think it just goes to show how we can continue to leverage this technology to create engaging immersive experiences. So one of the things we're really excited about is this pathway from player to creator, and it sounds like that's what a lot of people here are also share in that passion. Um, this has, our Epic branding, but we could add to this, when we talk about the player, we're talking about, kids who are already playing Fortnite Battle Royale, Roblox, all these other games that have these environments that they could build in. Minecraft, which takes us even a little further down the line because kids are creating essentially, when they're playing Minecraft in its purest form. Um, this gives us an opportunity to lead to tools like Twinmotion and Fortnite Creative for development. Super excited. You might have heard Tim Sweeney start talking about something called Unreal Engine for Fortnite, which, forever I've been looking for the bridge between Fortnite Creative and Unreal Engine to really help kids learn Unreal Engine, which is an industry standard tool, but through their experiences and passion for Fortnite. And that's, going to be a possibility. And then when it comes to creating interactive 3D, there are so many great tools like Unreal Engine, Unity, Maya, um, ZBrush, Nuke, and all of these are industry standard tools that if our students come out of high school with these skills, we're really setting them up for great possibilities. Um, Another one, and again, I'd love for you to take a look at this when you get a chance, but Twinmotion is, we always, when we do trainings and things, we call it our sleeper hit because it's an amazing environment for getting comfortable with 3D and visualization. It allows, for students to really ease into the use of 3D technology with a lot of dragging and dropping, integrates, beautifully into VR, by the click of a couple of buttons, and kids are in VR further developing or building and such. So definitely something to check out. Oop, it wants to show the video. And then finally, I just want to kind of share one of the things that we are doing at Epic. As part of our commitment to education, we really want to support educators and students in bringing these tools to the classroom. So we offer at no cost a training, like a 30-hour professional development experience in learning these tools. And we offer a number of different options for this, which I'm happy to share. In fact, at ISTE this year, we have 2 full days of training as part of a hybrid model of our accelerator program. And we're doing the same at Games for Change. And we have a fully online option and others. And even for large school districts that want to, you know, um, customize their own training, that's something we're more than happy to do. And again, no cost whatsoever. So I'm not trying to, just trying to share an opportunity, I hope. And with that, I think we can go back and I can chat with Michael.
Hello. Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me, Steve?
Yeah, sorry, did
Great.
I rush you
No,
there? And now here's Michael.
no, I was waiting for myself to appear on the screen. Excellent. Um, so there's so many questions I have, Steve. Thanks so much. Well, I guess one off the bat is, what was it like for you to make the transition personally from years in the classroom to a game company? I mean, clearly, if anybody was made for that role, it was you. But I'm sure it wasn't just a super, it wasn't a frictionless process. I was curious to know how it's going, what you're learning, what they're learning from you.
Thanks. No, that's a great question. And I get it. I get asked it a lot. Often it's asked by somebody who wants to make that transition. And when I think back to it, it was 20 something years in the making, really. I spent a lot of time working with ed tech companies over the years. When we were using Game Maker in my classroom, and my buddy Mark Suter here and I both actually worked directly with Yo-Yo Games and even developed content for them as we were excited about their tool, and we wanted it always gave us an opportunity also to push those feature requests by being involved with ed tech companies. I've worked with, Brain Pop and Microsoft with the Minecraft education team and things. So, and built up a huge network of educators who were also interested in ed tech and game-based learning. So in some ways, it was a very natural progression. I will say that what kind of really helped, and this is something some of you might want to look at, is we have a mega grant program at Epic where they're offering $100 million in total. Actually, Michael, you're familiar with the process. And one of the strands is for education, which to me jumped out. And I was like, wow, a company that believes strongly in education. So I did apply for one and received it. So that got me started a little deeper in and started me doing some work with Epic before I came on. But I love it. I work with educators. I get to support them, support training, support community growth, and all of that. And it's you know, it's I feel like I'm in the exact place I'm supposed to be.
That's really exciting. And I assume you heard the educator panel that preceded this one, but
Did.
lots of really consistent themes. I love when you said, giving kids the freedom to create, and, learning with students and letting them be the expert in the room. I think so much of this work is finding a home in school buildings and classrooms and school days and so forth, and making it relevant. One thing I thought would be interesting to talk about is just how to keep it from being a special thing in the corner, but something that's available and accessible to lots and lots of kids. We saw in the XRA survey that it tends to be its own thing, or maybe it makes its way into science class, but mostly it's separate. And we believe, I share with you a belief that lots of kids can do this. What are some ideas you have for really expanding the pool of kids? And I mean diversity in all respects. That we know from computer science education that girls and kids of color don't necessarily see them in the room here. But maybe that's not the case for art, this beautiful intersection of art and technology. Like, what are some of the strategies that you think about when making sure that people know that this is for them?
That's great. So I had talked a little bit about the arts, media, and entertainment workforce development program, and that group of people that's top of mind without a doubt. Is making the technology accessible and such. So they're supporting a lot of this with great grant funding. So some of the schools that we're working with have, even through the grants from the Department of Ed and the Department of Labor, have been able to get the technology they need. That's one piece. I think one of the things we've been doing, and this came from my experience when I was in the classroom, if I had kids who wanted to use Unreal or Unity, I was fully supportive, but I wasn't necessarily prepared to support them to a great extent. So they were, responsible for a lot of the learning. So one of the things we did when I came in that I thought was real important was we created a ton of resources that are intended to really soften that learning curve and help with the onboarding. So the teachers that we train, we don't expect any prior experience. We have lesson plans that cover all of the different content areas. Um, a program like Twin Motion really, I think, affords many more people that opportunity. Fortnite Creative, because it's available on so many platforms and kids typically tend to have it at home and they can work collaboratively in and outside of school, that certainly helps. And then on a final note, and something we're working really hard on for accessibility and reducing barriers to entry, are creating opportunities for educators to have like an offline or auto installer for some of our products like Unreal and Twin Motions, so they don't so we in case there are issues with privacy and with account creation within the school. And another one that I'm working really hard on that will take a little time is the potential for virtual machines. I think once we can connect to a higher power computer with a Chromebook in a school, we're gonna, cross a huge, barrier. So those are just some of those thoughts.
Those are such great ideas. Yeah, you're revealing your school background, knowing that all of those the stumbling blocks are real for the educators out there trying to get stuff installed and logged into and all that stuff all the time. We have now a bit of a different question from Tommy Trong, who asks about. He says, I got to tell you about conversations with schools to create digital twins. I know that's not the right one. Sorry, Tommy, I'm reading the wrong one. Infrastructure question. Infrastructure, that was a good one too, but about connections between metaverses and formal education. So already I think there's a lot of fear in the field that each metaverse will be a unique standalone space and it'll be hard to kind of get interoperable and between, bring your stuff between them. But how does that cross over into education? Like, what are people thinking about in terms of like if kids inhabit these spaces and then come to school?
Yeah.
Like, what are the opportunities there?
Well, so like you just brought up, Michael, about inhabiting these spaces and then coming to school, I think that is a huge reason why we should be supporting and encouraging further use in schools. Because again, it's that whole idea of, this is where the kids are. They're already acclimated to this environment. Let's let them both, learn in it and create for it, is kind of my feeling. And I think, yeah, I just think that we're at this point where you had mentioned the interoperability as a challenge for sure, and I think those are kind of some of the big challenges. But I think in terms of the philosophy, I think we have incredible opportunities to bring, you know, engaging social interaction, metaverse experiences into education. Of course, that also brings up the big question about privacy and how we can connect classes versus just have our own class in a walled garden and that sort of thing. So I think there are a lot of big questions there. But I do think there's a tremendous place for metaverse experiences in education, whether it be students as creators or as participants.
Thank you. Yeah, great. And so I think actually we're just closing in on the end of our time here somehow. But I had one more sort of parting thought question for you, since we asked the educator panelists. We have the audience here spans producers and hardware software developers and content creators, not just and educators, of course. And I was curious, what's your wish list? What would you like this group to be thinking about as we carry this work forward?
Gosh, working together, like all the time that I was kind of advocating for educators and ed tech creators and developers, it was always so clear to me that we needed all people's voices at those tables, right? So we need student voice in all of these, conversations. We need educators, we need ed tech, companies, and I think they all want the feedback from one another, but I think making that truly happen just takes a little initiative. But that's one. And I think for us all to come together around, like, I believe that we have so many great platforms and opportunities for kids to create in. Let's embrace all of them and see which, get kids, started and then move from there. But wherever we can, I think we do need to kind of work on how these can interact, with one another as well.
bringing student voice in is such a and collaborating across different walks of life is clearly the way to go. Thank you so much for raising that. And Steve, it was so wonderful to have you here. I think you really added an important voice to today's discussion, and it's exciting to have you on the inside over at Epic Games. So I can't wait to hear more about your work there.
I appreciate it, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you for being
Thanks,
with us.
everybody.